Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today I'm going to do one on why fishing reels fail. This is actually a pretty interesting reel. This is the Penn Pursuit. It's the original version of the Penn Pursuit, and you'll notice what's different about this one versus the next generations is, well, this one kind of had that champagne gold color as opposed to the black color, the black and silver color that came with the Pursuit 2 and further generations. Well, here we go. We have a reel that turns. It's noisy and turning, but we have no oscillation on the reel itself. So we're going to take this reel apart. We'll show you what's inside the reel, and more importantly, we'll figure out what's going wrong with this reel. Now, this reel came in a parts lot, and when I get these reels in parts lots, sometimes you got to make a decision as to whether it's repairable or not. And this one does not have the spool. It does not have the drag set. It does not have the drag knob. And obviously something is going wrong in the oscillation itself. The reel in a used condition is probably a $30 or a $40 reel. The parts are probably $30 or $40. And I think unless it was some kind of sentimental reel that you may have got, maybe it was your first reel or something, I don't know, some sentimental reel attached to it, it's probably not worth repairing. But that doesn't mean it's not worth learning a lesson from. Maybe it's particular to this reel what's failed. Maybe it's a generic cause. Maybe it's bad engineering. Whatever it is, we're going to find out, and we're going to just kind of put that off to the side. And it is what I would generally call a tuition reel. You're going to learn from it, and the price you paid for the reel. This was in a parts lot of reels, so it just wasn't that expensive. But the price you're going to pay to learn from that, well, that's probably going to be the cost of the knowledge that you get back for that. So let's take a look at this one. I'm going to remove the exterior parts. As I do, I'm going to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please hit that notification button. That way you'll see the reel videos that I'm posting. See all the videos that I'm posting. Not all of them involve the fishing reel. Some are about fishing reel company histories and things like that. But you'll get to see all of the ones that I'm doing. And if you have that notification button, you can select the videos that you wish to see. All right. Before we get started, here's something that some folks ask about sometimes. There's a pin that is holding this handle on. You can see it right there. If for some reason you break the handle and want to replace it, you can knock that pin out and put a replacement handle on, not having to worry about whether that shaft is going to match up. Sometimes when you get first generation reels, like this is the Penn Pursuit 1, we're on Penn Pursuit 3 or 4 now, sometimes the parts change with the generations, and you're not able to find the pieces. For example, I think the knob on the more current versions is a little bit bigger. So you can knock that pin out and you can replace the piece of the handle. Well, we're going to take the handle off. Interestingly enough, that was mounted as a right-hand side drive handle. Most of the time they're mounted on the left-hand side. You're going to look now on the reel. If you can see the seam on the side case, that means that you can remove the side case without removing the rotor. So let's go ahead and take the rotor off now. Or take the side plate off without the rotor. I had rotor on my mind there. I'm going to take all my pieces of parts and put them into a parts tray, just so I know where they are. And without even removing the axle shaft, we're going to be able to find out what the cause of this issue is. And again, sometimes you just want to learn a little bit about how the reel is made, why it broke. You want to make a determination as to whether you can repair the reel or if it's better off just being there for parts. And all of that starts kind of with what we're doing now, getting an inside look at the reel. So this has a fixed click rotor, and that has a little Teflon washer on top of it. You cannot remove this piece that's on the axle shaft itself. So the only way to remove that axle shaft is to remove this bottom cover. Let's go ahead and pull that. Well, this looks brand new inside, doesn't it? The bearing hardly looks new. You have the blue grease from the original one. So this is kind of odd in terms of why do we not have the oscillation feature going. Very odd. This one drives me crazy, this next piece here. You do not have an instant anti-reverse. You have an instant anti-reverse. You do not have the override. So if you get stuck along the way, you can't back this reel off. It becomes almost traumatic. Well, look at this. This is kind of interesting. There's another screw in here. I can tell you from experience, that screw doesn't belong there. That screw is one of the two screws from here. So as I look at this, I'm almost thinking that screw probably was left in there when the reel was manufactured. Somebody probably just dropped it in the case. I suspect that got in there and caused some damage somewhere along the line. Well, I want to back this down, but again, I mentioned that you kind of get stuck there. We're going to see if we can pull this top screw out. I'm thinking I can't. Let's go ahead and see what we can do here then. Let's turn the reel. And I think I just probably turned that enough that I can get this bottom screw out. Well, this would certainly qualify as unusual. See, that screw and this screw are the same screw. There's only two of these used in that reel, and we've got three in here. So something went bad along the way there with the manufacturer. My guess is that slipped, fell in there, and that's that. Well, you just don't want to cover up the reel. Say, this is great. Let me run out and get a spool and get an adjuster knob and put it back together again. You need to check for damage, because we know that it wasn't working, and here it is. There's damage right here. It's on the back oscillation gear. Let me take this out maybe and show you. What's happened, I suspect, is that the screw, normally I have a glove to protect myself from this, that screw probably lodged here, and as you can see, hopefully you can see, it's knocked the teeth off. Well, that's going to stop it from oscillating if the teeth are going to grind away on that. So this is a bad gear here. Sometimes that's going to, sometimes that's going to make a bad gear on the back of the main gear, which drives that. So my guess is that what happened here was that screw that probably didn't belong there in the beginning got trapped in the back of the case between this gear and the oscillation gear. The oscillation gear probably pulled it in. When you went to crank, you knocked the teeth off of this. You knocked the teeth off of this. Well, you don't have a drive for your oscillation system. So that's the cause of the failure here. That's too much to replace on this reel. It's a first generation reel. The reel is probably 10 years old, and all this is probably good for now is some parts. So I don't even know how much good it is for parts, because, well, you don't get the champagne colored reel anymore. But I suspect, I'm going to go back and look, there's a lot of parts commonality between the first, second generation of this reel. And maybe, I'm pretty sure that the bearings are interchangeable. The axle shaft is probably interchangeable. The handle can work. It's not going to be the same color as the other reels, but the handle should work. Maybe the bail and the like. So it might be worth holding for parts, but it's not worth rebuilding at this point, given that the spool and the drag washers and the spool adjuster are all missing. It's probably $50 in parts to save what is probably a value of about a $30 reel today. So that's what I've learned from this one, and I hope you've learned something too. Again, that's what I call the tuition reels. They're reels that you can learn from. This reel didn't cost me more than maybe $10, maybe even less, and there's a good lesson learned for that. And what we learned here is, well, don't just assume because it came from the factory that it's okay. This factory obviously screwed up on this one. There's nobody else that's literal and pun, I guess, right? There's no way anybody else would put a third screw into the body of this reel. So, interesting. Hope you've enjoyed it. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do. To everybody, I wish you good luck and good fishing, And to all, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.